You have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane! Everybody strap in!
How about a warm welcome for the guy who was the top dude at EasyJet, which was sort of the Southwest Airlines of Europe. He opened up EasyJet there in the community of Europe, and I don't need to tell you what's happened. It was a huge success. He is so generous to join us to weigh in occasionally on some complex aviation issues. He's Patrick Weil, everybody. Hey, Patrick. How are you, sir?
Hey, Mark. How are you? Good. I just wanted to offer my condolences for Sam Rubin. And I know he's a friend and colleague, so I just wanted to extend that to you before we get started.
That's so lovely of you. Yeah, Sam was a dear friend, and it's been a very tough week, and I'll tell you, I'm still not over it, and so I really appreciate your warm sentiments, so thank you for that. I want to ask you...
33 years with KTLA, so I, part of the family on my side. I'm an Angelino through and through, so...
Yeah,
go ahead.
Exactly.
Sorry about that.
And he's part of the fabric of Los Angeles and of show business, I would suggest.
Absolutely.
Look, there's a lot going on in the world of aviation and air travel, commercial air travel, commercial aviation. But I think what's happening at Boeing, which at one time was sort of this, it was a Tiffany type brand. Boeing was top of the game. There was a confidence you had in Boeing. It was an economic engine in America. And now you find all of these issues and whistleblowers that are revealing the kind of shoddy workmanship and the farming out of various assembly line things being done with Boeing, and how they look the other way deliberately on issues regarding maintenance and quality of work. They now could be facing criminal prosecution over these 737 MAX crashes. Can you speak to this company, how far they've fallen, and then we can get into what may happen?
Well, I trying to get myself caught up in it because it's changing on a daily basis. I mean, I've read the government's approach to this is in a criminal sense. I just don't know. In that case, who is the person that would be prosecuted? Would it be a person or the company or the combination of both, or how that works? And the airlines, for instance, if say a mechanic missed something, an airplane crashed, that person would be responsible based on their license to perform those services. So I'm not entirely sure how that would proceed if it did proceed, but Boeing is an absolute disgrace right now.
It's interesting that you say that, because I think of, I hadn't thought of it until you just made the point, so thank you. I think of other major corporate malfeasance that goes on such a grand scale that it's very hard to tag one person for it. Who do you prosecute? The CEO at the time? They have a new CEO. Do you prosecute the CEO that was the CEO then? Is it not the CEO? Was it happening below? You begin to get into the weeds of who do you possibly bring in on a criminal prosecution?
Yeah, I would assume it would probably be the department heads to start with. They would be the buck stops with the CEO, of course, but in these particular, with the one with the 737 MAX, and now another one with the 787 program, which is now almost standstilling to a trickle of aircraft being produced. I think I read this morning a total of 737 MAXs were built last month. So this would have been down from 24 a month prior to that. And cancellations too. Cancellations.
Boeing could face, over two fatal 737 MAX crashes, criminal prosecution. They're accused of violating a settlement. Now, there are these settlements in place, and the settlements are designed to take care of things financially such that they won't face any kind of further action on the part of the Justice Department. Now, they still have time, the Justice Department, to decide whether or not they're going to move forward with this. They reached a $2.5 billion settlement with the Justice Department in January of 2021, Boeing did. And that was after the 737 MAX jets crashed in 2018 and 2019. And 346 people were killed in that. They're saying that since then, Boeing has breached that 2021 settlement, and that's what opens them up to criminal prosecution. But beyond that, they're saying that Boeing failed to design, implement, and enforce a compliance and ethics program to prevent and detect violations of the U.S. fraud laws. They essentially are saying they didn't take care of business. They didn't clean up their act, if you will, after the initial settlement. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, well, both of the settlements were focused on the families in Ethiopia and Indonesia in particular. So Lion Air was one, and Ethiopian Airlines was another. And I believe the U.S. laws are a little vague as far as third country type compensation for people. I mean, if it happened in the U.S., obviously it would have been, the restitution would have been in full. The problem I see, and I'm not a legal expert, so I'm not sure exactly how that all fell through the cracks. But it is really is a slap in the face to the families of the people that died on those airplanes.
Yeah, I mean, they were called upon to basically get their act together, and then you see what is that called? The door, they have a word for it, the plug or whatever.
It's a plug door, but it blew out, and that's amazing that happened in itself. So yeah,
and that's just one example. That happened on that MAX 9, and there is. And we're going to talk, actually, it's funny you say that on the law, we're going to talk to our legal guy tomorrow, David Katz, about the realities concerning Boeing's vulnerability. But, they're paying billions of dollars in settlements, as you just noted. There were two major settlements. They're totaling, I think it's $5 billion or close to it. And then there are victims' funds and more. But what happens to the company? I mean, I guess what I'd ask you as someone who really worked so closely with these aviation companies, at what point does this do the damage, or are we well past the point where Boeing is so reputationally harmed that their ability to do business is affected?
Well, hey, that's a really good question. One of the situations that is presenting itself now is that there's only two real players in the business of building passenger jets right now, and that is Boeing and Airbus. Now, there are some other companies coming around the corner now. One is Embraer from Brazil, that's now talking about building a larger jet to compete with the 737 MAX. And then there's another company in China, Comac, C-O-M-A-C, who basically is how can I say it? They're building airplanes that are almost identical to Airbus A320s right now. So I don't think that's going to be a real player in the global industry, but I think Embraer, with this kind of mandate, may be stepping up and becoming a bigger player in the passenger.
Can you tell me what the difference is, just from a design standpoint, between the Boeing and the Airbus planes? I mean, is it something we can understand, or is it? I mean, is there a radically different design, or are we just talking about quality of workmanship?
I think it's a workmanship issue, and the quality of design is if one player builds a super plane, then the other feels like they have to match it, kind of thing. So up before, when we had three different manufacturers, Airbus, Boeing, and McDonnell Douglas, there was a little bit more wherewithal for the manufacturers to produce aircraft separately. Now it seems to be a tit for tat kind of environment. So if Airbus builds a A321, then Boeing needs to build a 737 MAX. The problem with Boeing is that they had an opportunity to develop a separate aircraft altogether, and they fanned on it. And I don't know if that was a result of the pandemic, but that was a fundamental flaw program that should have been replacing the 757. which was a nice mid-range jet. Now what you wind up doing is keep adding and adding and adding to an airplane that already exists, but it's not feasible to continue to stretch it till infinity. And that's kind of what's happened to Boeing.
It's interesting that confidence in the Boeing aircraft is still, I've been seeing this from Doug, I have no problem with Boeing. Don't they carry more people than anybody from place to place? I mean, they are a dominant aviation company, meaning they produce all these aircraft and have historically been the company. As you say, it's it's Airbus or Boeing. And so you're likely to see the skies of the U.S. populated by a lot of Boeing planes.
Well, actually, right now, Airbus is the dominant manufacturer in the world. And what I'm seeing is more and more Airbus airplanes. You know, we have JetBlue, Spirit, American, United. United just canceled a huge Boeing order and replaced it with an Airbus order. So those are the kind of ramifications you're seeing that are happening to Boeing because of the lack of confidence from the very top to the bottom. Honestly, it's a full range of dynamic issues, but I mean, all manifesting at the same time is just quite amazing.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that's what you're talking about, the fact that, you know, this is all coming together for this company. And lastly,
yeah,
they can't
even get a spaceship off the launching pad. I mean, it's really embarrassing that SpaceX we see them launching every week on a basis here in California, for instance. And Boeing's been trying to get this Starlink, or not, my apologies, Starlink, but the Star ship or whatever they call it, their version of the SpaceX capsule. They can't get it off the ground. I mean, they should, in my opinion, they should give that up and completely focus on the passenger airplanes.
Oh yeah, the Starliner, right?
Yeah.
Last thing I would say and ask you about is quickly the whistleblowers. So two of them have died. One of them under fairly, I mean, maybe you would argue, I think it's argued certainly among many that both of them passed away under questionable circumstances, but one of them certainly. There are 10 others apparently who are ready to step forward. I guess the company's got real issues with the number of people who have witnessed and been part of things that they were not comfortable with from the standpoint of maintenance and the production of equipment that goes onto their planes.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing with, if there is any further whistleblowers, they should have complete anonymity to that and not be revealed. I mean, they really have to go under the cloak and dagger, in my opinion, at this point, because they're just opening themselves up to what has happened. I mean, there's no conclusive evidence of it, but I mean, it doesn't look good. Let's put it that way.
Pat, so appreciate you spending time with us as someone who has, been in the trenches and actually worked with these various production companies. I mean, the Airbus and Boeing. I mean, you've been in touch with both as you did all your work with EasyJet, and you've worked so long in aviation. It's really always a pleasure to talk to you, and please come back on. Sadly, this is a developing story, as they say. So the good news is we'll see you again, I hope. Thank you, Patrick Weil. Patrick Weil, everybody.
I'm happy.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.